Hello, everyone. I'm Kenny Rice. Welcome into the Horse Racing Show, our post-Preakness show. We'll be talking with Robby Albarado, the winning jockey aboard Swiss Skydiver, just coming up in a few moments. And later on, Leonard Lusky, who is the president of Secretariat.com, the Secretariat Festival coming up that honors, of course, the great racehorse Big Red, but it also brings in a lot of racing history. Some of the great jockeys are a part of it, some of the farms, even the National Racing Museum. Leonard will talk about that. And then Clay Scherer, a noted Bloodstock agent who, among other things, picked out as part owner of She Dares the Devil, the winner of the Kentucky Oaks, coming off the third in the Spencer. So that's the lineup we have today. And what a race it was. Lead guitar, as always, is Ben Chaffins. Ben, as you're watching Swiss Skydiver, an authentic, go head-to-head, eyeball to eyeball, all the way down the stretch, what were you thinking?
Well, Kenny, I was just thinking, can this race get any more exciting? I mean, you know, you had Authentic and Swiss Skydiver, two top horses going neck to neck at that end, and I wasn't certain who was going to win. Not at the very end.
No, and, you know, a lot of people have talked about that being sort of like a Sunday silence, easy-goer showdown. Perhaps it was. You could come up with a lot of comparisons. I don't think there's any argument that is the best race of the year as of now. I know we have in a few weeks the Breeders' Cup coming up, but pick a race better than that. You won't be able to find it this year, with a great ride of Robby Albarado down the stretch and winning by just that much in a photo finish, taking the Preakness. That was his second, by the way. He also won aboard a great horse named Curlin, you might remember, back in 2007. But the Authentic, and he had what he had to do. Swiss Skydiver did what she needed to do, and the filly came out on top. Only the sixth filly in 145 runnings of the Preakness, and the first since the great Rachel Alexander in 2009 to win the Preakness. Kenny McPeak, the trainer of Swiss Skydiver, said he thought he might have a Horse of the Year candidate. If you listened to the show last week, she is certainly in the mix now, coming off the Preakness, going on to the Breeders' Cup. Maybe Robby will have some insight. Will she go in the Distaff? Will she go in the Classic? She has qualified for both, and it's a great option for Kenny McPeak to have that. What impressed me most about this year's Triple Crown, the three different winners and how they did it. Everyone did it in impressive fashion. Now, it's not out of the ordinary to have three different winners. I mean, just recently it happened in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2016, 2017. You had three different winners. Last year, you had three different winners as well. I think what's special about this group, though, is Tiz the Law, who was considered the best three-year-old, and some can still argue that he is, did everything he needed to do in a dominant performance in the Belmont. He looked unbeatable. And then you go to the Derby, and he gives it his best shot, but he gets beaten by Authentic, who had only lost once, and that was in the Santa Anita Derby. And Authentic did everything that he needed to do to win that race, and he was equally impressive in many ways. And now you come to the Preakness recently and the spectacular stretch run, and Swiss Skydiver certainly making her mark in beating the boys, the top three-year-old filly, no question about it, maybe the top three-year-old out there. She did everything she could do to win that race and came through in fine fashion. So three impressive winners. And we really not had that in recent years when we've had the different horses winning the Triple Crown races. They've had some moments. There's been some excuses. No one stood out of the pack. These three horses have. And we're going to see Authentic go again against Tiz the Law in what should be a great Breeders' Cup Classic, especially with the likes of Improbable in there, Maximum Security, by my standards, Tom Detente. This could be one of the better Breeders' Cup Classics we've had in a long time. And maybe even the filly will be in there. It brings the question, who is the best three-year-old out there right now? Three-year-old filly, no debate, Swiss Skydiver. But what about Tiz the Law? Don't forget about his achievements. And Authentic, that's only his second loss of the year. And that's what makes it a really interesting year in what probably people thought would not be, there was some question. How would it hold up over the course of the year? with the Triple Crown having to be rearranged because of COVID-19, with Belmont in June, not exactly in June where it is, but at least in the same month, and then the Derby in September, and then in October, the Preakness. And what it's done is you've had some of the best 3-year-olds hold up over the course of the year, which normally you do not have. When you get to this stage of the season, maybe you have a couple of good 3-year-olds to talk about. Rarely do you have the Derby winner still around running. We haven't seen that, except, of course, with a few exceptions, and very few exceptions in the last decade. But this year, the 3-year-old crop, as I said, going in the Breeders' Cup Classic, is the Law and Authentic. Going in either the Distaff or the Classic is Swiss Skydiver. Don't forget Art Collector. Not quite on his game. He finished 4th in the Preakness, but still one of the top 3-year-olds that's still out there running. So I think it's made for a very interesting year in what some would think would be a year where it would be, maybe a little sketchy out there. So that's the positive thing about what has unfolded this year with the COVID-19 and how it's all broken down. And the great thing is we have some healthy horses ready to go for the Breeders' Cup. When we come back, Robby Albarado, to quote LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback, although some would. Terrific rider, over 5,200 wins, not getting as much action as of late. Kenny McPeak still believed in him, as he always had, gave him the mount, even though he wasn't the top choice, but he rode like the top rider we have seen him do in the past. And we'll talk with Robby and Swiss Skydiver's win when we come back here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Delighted to have this man on with us. I have known him, I guess, since he started riding right around 1990 professionally. He's won over 5,200 races. He's coming off the race of the year, a victory over Authentic in the Preakness aboard Swiss Skydiver. He is Robby Albarado. Robby, welcome in.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for having me, man.
Man, it's good to catch up, isn't it? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. We get through these little stretches where we get the little slumps and all that, and you always interviewing the superstars, Kenny.
Well, I'm interviewing one now, and I'm sure you've had a lot of well-wishers since last weekend when you had that thrilling stretch run with Swiss Skydiver, haven't you?
Yes, man. A lot of text messages, a lot of calls. It's been nice. We love those.
Well, I mean, no one has forgotten what a good race rider Robby Albarado is. You've had some ups and downs recently. I don't know if this is fair to say comeback, but it certainly has put you back on the national spotlight. Did you look at it that way?
Yeah, well, I'm back at work this morning getting on horses, so I don't know if back national spotlight, but yes, it's been exciting, man. It's been a rough couple of years, not rough. I can't say rough, but not on the riding the better horses and watching the other kids ride the better horses. It's tough watching that when I'm still able. It's been humbling, but you get days like Saturday and it gets you right back where you need to be.
Kenny McPeak calls you up and says, I'm going to check one more guy, and then I'm going to give you the mount on Swiss Skydiver.
That's how it went down.
To wait? What was that like to wait and see if it was going to happen?
It was exciting that I was even considered, Me and Kenny go back a long ways, though. I've ridden many winners for him. I was never, ever out of Kenny's stable. He always had something for me, always. And I've ridden them all at one point. I've ridden this a few at one point. So it's Kenny never put me out, but just the way it was exciting just to be mentioned. So.
Well, and you did the job. What was that like as that race unfolds? And
I watched it.
Right.
I watched it 56 times, and it's never gets old. It never got old. So the race is good. It felt like it was the old days of me and Johnny B down the stretch. He beat me on a filly once before in a major race, and I was on a little horse called Curlin in the Belmont, and he beat me at the wire. So I got him back with a filly Saturday.
Yeah, he was on Rags to Riches, right?
That's right. You said the name. I didn't want to say the name, but you said it.
We won't mention it anymore.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there, but so it's kind of a little redemption from that standpoint of it.
Well, that is a good standpoint, isn't it? The 2007 that happened, then you flip it. When you're coming down the stretch with Swiss Skydiver, Robby, what were your thoughts in those, those final 20 seconds or so, and your eyeball to eyeball with Velasquez aboard Authentic?
I tell you what, she's a superior filly, and she was like, if she could have talked, she probably would have said, "You're not getting by me." And I felt that in her. I felt that determination in her. That she's got a heart. She's got a heart on her, man. She's not to fit her size, actually. So, everybody, see. So so she's a phenomenal special filly, man.
And your little boy's with you. How's he doing? I hear him.
He's doing good, man. They love horses, man. Obviously, they love watching Daddy on TV. Which is good.
Everybody was happy for Daddy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're talking with Robby Albarado, and you mentioned your son's with you right now because you're at a racetrack at Keeneland. That's basically how you got your start, right? Your dad was a jockey, those bush tracks down in Louisiana, and so you kind of
yeah. He was never a recognized professional jockey, but he had the bush tracks in Louisiana when I was a young age. I was at the track early. I'm afraid my boys may be a little too big, though. Their Dan's family is pretty big guys. So.
You know what's interesting? That bush track in Louisiana, those bush tracks down there, the great jockeys they produced. I don't know what it is, but I could go down the list, and I'm gonna miss somebody out there. Robby, was there anybody that was kind of an inspiration for you other than your dad growing up watching?
Well, we had the jocks who kind of spearheaded that whole deal with Eddie Delahousie, Randy Romero. Then you got the next batch of guys like Shane Sellers and Calvin Borrell, and it just went on and on. And as kids, we watched that, and we watched those guys on TV, and we're like, we want to be just like them. But I believe, and it's not I believe, it's facts that there's no place in the country where there's so many jockeys from a 15-mile radius. There's over hundreds of us, 100, 200, 300 of us from a 15-mile radius on competitive and professional. Yeah. So you don't see it anywhere. You might see these many Mexican jocks or this many Spanish jocks, but nowhere we have so many jocks from the same place.
I know, it's amazing. I don't know. I don't know if there's just something special about how you learn to ride on the bush tracks that are different, that prepares everyone. But like you say, you start going down the list and you'll forget somebody. The Sormo and these guys that have come out of there.
Oh, absolutely. We have Brian Mendez, Colin Lannery, Mark Guidry. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Like you said, you cannot count on Calvin. You cannot count them all.
Yeah, you'd have to write down the list before you even started.
Absolutely.
You're going to forget somebody along the way in there.
Yeah. And like you said, I don't know what it is. We started real young down there. And I can remember when I was a kid, Randy Romero was already won thousands of races and came back to the match tracks to ride. I mean, that was wild for me back then. He was like a celebrity when he came back home to ride the match races.
I can understand that. That's like the guy that makes it to the majors. It comes back to AA and hits a few out for you.
Yeah. It was pretty surreal. But like I said, we had the match tracks, and it's kind of slowed down a lot. But we still go try to find us a Cajun boy every now and then to come up.
No, and then they found a good one in Robby Albarado. Professionally, you started in 1990?
1990, yep.
Yeah. And, you've had some tough luck with you had 2 skull fractures back-to-back years in 98, 99.
Yeah,
and
man.
I remember that period, and I don't mean to bring it up in a...
No, absolutely.
But I mean, just for people out there, most of them know, but the adversity that you've gone through and still won 5,200 races is rather fascinating to me.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I've had quite a few injuries in that time, and I missed a lot of time. But I've been really lucky to come back and still compete on this level after, I think it was 13, 14 surgeries.
Wow.
But I feel good. You know what it is? The love of my job. I still love my job.
Well, it certainly showed the other day. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back. We're talking with Robby Albarado, over 5,200 wins, including his second Preakness victory this past weekend when he guided Swiss Skydiver just by that much in a great finish over Authentic to win the Preakness. More with Robby right after this. And welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Kenny Rice here. I'm talking with Robby Albarado, the winning jockey aboard Swiss Skydiver in the Preakness. Your second Preakness victory, just as sweet as with Curlin in 2007, or maybe even a little more special this time, Robby.
You know, the first curling, it was my first Triple Crown win, and it was special. But for some reason, I don't know why, this was a little more emotional for me. Maybe because of my drought, and I don't know, me and my age, and you know, being around the business so long, people not really believing in my ability anymore. So, and Kenny took a swing for the fences on me, and I just had to execute off my opportunity, and it worked out for me. It was extremely nice filly.
Yeah, and an incredible ride, as Kenny McPeak pointed out, and several did right afterwards. I mean, because in a race that close, I mean, not even a blink of an eye decided the finish as you beat Authentic. You have no room for error in there all the way around the track, and you almost had the record that Secretariat has. I mean, that's the second fastest Preakness. Did you realize how fast this race was going, especially closing it out?
Well, I know we stretched the race out, me and the winner of Turning for Home. But actually, I rode curling with the second fastest time, and I thought that was pretty special. Now, even exceeding that was, I mean, it's beyond me. So, but she was running, and like I said, they beat the field pretty easy. It is the Derby winner we beat, so it wasn't like it was a fluke race.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's going to be fun to debate this Triple Crown. You know, Tiz the Law looked good in the winning the Belmont. Authentic looked good in beating Tiz the Law, and Swiss Skydiver looked great in that. What I think is the race of the year in beating Authentic. So, everybody had a win that you couldn't say, well, they just kind of fluked into that. It was all impressive how everybody won the Triple Crown races this year.
Yes, and especially like when you get a call from like Craig Perrette, and he says that's your favorite race he's watched in a long, long time. And that was pretty special coming from him. One of our Louisiana boys. And I thought it was considering with all what went on this year, the way they handled the Triple Crown was nice, and to end it with a Preakness like this unfolded was great. I thought for racing.
Yeah, what was it like when you come into the winner's circle? And we talked about earlier the other day. It wasn't like there were a whole lot of people over there, but it was still a great feeling being in a Triple Crown winner's circle.
Oh, absolutely, it was. I mean, it was kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal. Still, it's kind of surreal. Think back at it and watch the replay again and again and again and again. It's still brand new to me.
Well, you talked about how when you look back on it, you've looked at it dozens of times. Did you ever think in there one time, gee, I don't know if I'm going to win it this time?
You know what? Like I said, I made an early move in the middle of the backside. I saw an opportunity, and circumstances dictated I didn't move now and try to beat the champ, or I can concede to him and sit back and wait and try to ride for second. But I wasn't riding to lose; I was riding to win, and she it worked out. It worked out. She was the best one.
Talk about that move, because, like you say, I know Bob Baffert was hoping that he would have his horse Authentic go out earlier and set some pace earlier. As he talked about after the race. But obviously you're aware of that, and you knew you couldn't let him get away too much.
Well, when he had a stablemate accompanying him, I was fine with that also. And it seemed like Art Collector made like he was going to make a little press, middle of the backside, but he at the same time, he was kind of receding a little bit. So I said, here's my chance. It's now or never. So, and I took an opportunity to go in, and when I got in there, I was even take a hold and slow her down somewhat. So, I mean, it was, and I confidently made that move. It wasn't like I second guessed myself doing it. But that was my confidence in the filly too. That's how she trained all week leading up to the race. So she knew where she was, and she was confident in making the move too. It wasn't forced. It wasn't a forced move for sure.
Come with Robby Albarado, and you went up with Kenny early to Pimlico to work the horse some and be around her more. Is that right?
Yes, and that was a big move on his part, because it helped me make a decision going inside that hole. How she trained all week on the track, and I got on her every day, and every day she got better and better. And by her getting better, instilled more confidence in me throughout the week. So leading up to Saturday, I was pretty confident, and I was pretty confident going inside of Authentic also, because he never really comes down to the fence, even in his training. So I was pretty confident going inside of him.
What's your little boy's name?
I have two of them right now. This one's name is Woodford Keegan, the one that's in the background.
He likes the horses, doesn't he?
Loves the horses. Loves the horses.
I can tell when one's going by. I can't hear the horse, but I can hear him.
Yeah.
You know, the horses you've ridden, and some of them like Horse of the Year, Mineshaft in 03. We talked about Curlin. You not only won the Preakness with him, but you won the Breeders' Cup Classic. And then you went on in 08 the next year to win the Dubai World Cup with him. I know that's got to be always one of the special rides, the whole thing with two really great horses, 2 horses of the year, Mineshaft and Curlin.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive credential.
Yeah, that was, man. You know, it was special, but you know, it was like that we was winning a bunch of races and ran a bunch of races that year. And, you know, you kind of, I don't want to say take those races for granted, but like this year, you know, hadn't been on a really nice one in a while, so it kind of makes it special that you get on that level and make it happen, man. It was kind of, I don't want to say it was like a redemption or comeback race, but it was comeback for me. I felt like it was a comeback for me, and hopefully this leads on to more opportunities on that level.
Yeah, a reminder that these young guys are pretty good, but it's hard to go against a veteran in a big race. That's well.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing better than experience. You know that. I mean, you want Tom Brady in fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go. You want Drew Brees. You know those guys, and I mean you could have a young quarterback, and you could have Holmes. But when it comes down to 2 minutes to go, you want Brady.
Yeah. And you want Robby Albarado in a close race, as Kenny McPeak wisely did, putting you aboard Swiss Skydiver. And are you staying with Swiss Skydiver now? You talked about what's going to happen with her going ahead to the Breeders' Cup Distaff, I would guess, but certainly the Breeders' Cup, one of the races.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I've kind of confirmed that I'm going to ride her at one of the races, and whichever one would be fine with me. I guess you're going to double enter and see how it goes. See how she's training up to that point. But
yeah, she's a strong filly, isn't she?
She's strong. She's huge. She's massive. I mean, she's got a heart. She's determined she wants to win, and she's traveled. She's traveled everywhere. She went to East Coast, West Coast, and her home track is Keeneland here. So I believe that she's gonna come in here confident, as she did the Preakness.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? 9 races over 9 different tracks this year. You just don't hear about that much anymore. I mean, that's really old school.
Yeah, she's a throwback. I think she's one of the throwback horses where she don't need the tracks. I mean, she traveled from East Coast, like went to California, came back here, and showed up every time. So, I mean, she's a throwback horse, I believe, and that's what people need in racing, I think. They need horses like her.
Yeah.
When you get this racing back on top.
Well, and certainly a star like that. I mean, everybody knows Swiss Skydiver. It's a great sounding name. And what a race. And I don't know if I don't know how many races you've ridden in that was more exciting to look back on and watch, but that has to be one of the top 2 or 3, I would imagine.
That's at the top, man. That's right at the top. I mean, between my curling moments and my Mineshaft moments, and that's that race right up there with them, man, being the filly she is.
Well, listen, congratulations on everything, Robby. We won't call it a comeback. We'll call it a continuance. How's that?
There you go. I like that.
And I know you've got a great fan. I can hear him right there. He'll be cheering you on at Keeneland in just a few weeks in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, I look forward to seeing you there, Kenny.
I will see you soon, my friend. Thank you so much, Robby, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Robby Albarado, what a great race he rode in winning the Preakness with Swiss Skydiver, a great ride, the race of the year. We'll be back with more here on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for your time, and really happy to catch up with Leonard Lusky. He is the president of Secretariat.com, a longtime friend, worked in business and professional with Penny Chenry and the Chenry Tweedy family, and started in 2008 the Secretariat Festival, which is coming up this weekend, which will be, of course, different as are most things right now. It'll be a more viral experience that you can go online and enjoy and relive some great moments and people talking about great horse racing and, of course, the great racehorse. And Leonard Lusky, welcome into the show.
Well, thank you so much.
So this is, I know it's kind of a business mixed with passion, and you can't always say that about everything, but knowing you as long as I have, all your work with Ms. Chenry and the Secretariat.com organization has been that for the last dozen or so years.
Well, that's right. Actually, the festival's been going a dozen years. We actually started, Ms. Chenry and I started the whole business plan and the first horse website, secretariat.com, back in 2001. So it absolutely is a passion. Growing up here in Louisville, it's a Derby city. I always had a love for the horses, and to be able to work with arguably the greatest horse and their connections ever, what a thrill and what a privilege it is for me.
There's just something special about Secretariat, isn't there? And I remember when American Pharaoh won and when Justify won, I was lucky enough to be there for both those Triple Crown wins. It seems almost immediately Secretariat's name is evoked. How does that compare to Secretariat? And I would imagine 20 years from now, if there's another Triple Crown winner, it's going to be, how does that compare to Secretariat?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and we get asked that quite often. Why Secretariat? And there's been so many great horses. In fact, Miss Chenry, she had a really wise answer when people would say, "What do you think of who was better?" and so forth, and she'd say, "They were all great. Love them all." And but the truth is, there is something that resonates about Secretariat, and there's a reason that he remains so popular within America's pop culture, for sure. And what is that? I think it's several factors that all came together, the perfect storm. I think certainly Miss Chenry herself, a woman in a man's world, was unusual. And in '73, there was so much turmoil with Vietnam and Watergate. And here's this horse who runs like the wind and was beautiful and set track records. And, it was just something that America came around to embrace. And I think that continues today. The memory of him, those that saw him certainly remember, but those who didn't, they are influenced by the Disney film and so many other things that we do. Mr. Turcotte, Penny while she was alive, they all are great ambassadors of the sport, and that's basically what the festival is all about. It's a gathering of a mecca of sorts for Secretariat fans to talk more about what he did, what he meant to them, and also his achievements.
Leonard Lusky is the president of Secretariat.com. The Secretariat Festival is coming up. It's going to be different, as everything is right now. So how's the viral experience going to be? Everybody going to be online and looking in? Is that the way it's going to shape up, Leonard?
That is exactly right. And we are so grateful to have you be a part of these. We're having several fan segments. We call them the fan forums, where we get celebrity guests in who will talk about their experiences. One of those will be the Derby jockeys of Mike Manganello, Steve Cawthon, and Pat Day, all talking about their wins. So it's not just Secretariat. But then, of course, we'll have Ron Turcotte and Eddie Maple, who wrote Secretariat, and you'll be hosting that segment, which I'm thrilled about, because they are the only two jockeys that were able to ride both Secretariat and Riva Ridge, and those and against each other in the Marlboro Cup. So you really were going to have a lot of fun hearing the stories between them. But it's basically bringing the festival experience to people, since usually it's here in Kentucky, and obviously we can't have people come here, so we're going to bring it to them. And lots of segments. There's going to be 4 free segments where you'll be visiting Claiborne Farm, the National Museum of Racing, the Kentucky Derby Museum, and also Ron Turcotte's hometown. And then, of course, we'll get into the various fan forums, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Certainly not as good as the real thing, but in this time, we'll work with it.
And I guess with it being online, you could probably, I know some of the things, and I'm very honored to be a part of this, will be live that you can watch on the internet, on the website. But
that's right.
But you can probably come back and watch it, I guess, maybe. Can't you? Well, I don't know. See, you know this better than I do.
No, if you miss it while it's happening, we will be posting some of the items, so yeah, you can always come back and see it, and we hope maybe next year come and see it in person.
And that's
fingers crossed.
Yeah, they go to secretariat.com, right? And that's where they can keep up with all the information.
Secretariat.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. And but you can find us pretty easily, and we hope you'll come help keep that big red flame burning.
Well, and you certainly have done that, and I know Mrs. Chenry, the wonderful relationship you had with her, and I remember every interview I did with her, or even when I just passed by and saw her at the racetrack. It was always special. She was one of a kind. I can't say that about everybody in racing. You see interesting people, people that you certainly remember, but Penny Chenry, I don't know. There's no one that ever said a bad word about Penny Chenry.
Well, she sure liked you, and it was funny. There were certain people she really took a cotton to, and you were one of them. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet you through her.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and I look forward to it. It's this weekend coming up. But again, you can go to secretariat.com to find out more information about the Secretariat Festival. And like Leonard was telling us, if you missed some of it, the positive thing this year about all the problems with COVID is that you can go back and rewatch things that maybe you would miss if it were just live and you were at the event. I guess we'll try to spin it that way.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, we would love, one of the reasons the festival came together was to allow fans to learn more about horse racing. And, being in Kentucky, it's great. It's a mecca, as I said, but this year they're going to be able to see the National Museum of Racing and some of the places that people should see if they're horse fans. And so we're excited about that.
Leonard, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to catching up with you soon this weekend.
Well, thanks, and I sure appreciate all the help you do.
All right. Thank you. Leonard Lusky, president of Secretariat.com. When we come back, we're going to take a look back at the recent horse sales with Clay Scherer. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. The horse sales just about a week or so ago, concluding at Fasig-Tipton and at Keeneland, and a man that was on the scene and has had great success as a bloodstock agent, including She Dares the Devil. We'll talk about her in just a few moments. Right now, we're going to talk with Clay Scherer about how everything's going. Clay, welcome into the show.
Great to be here, Kenny.
Now, as far as the horse sales, wrapping up recently, what is the pulse out there of the horse market?
Right now it's truly a buyer's market. Top-end horses still sold well, and this year I believe there were more $1 million horses individually sold than the previous year, but right now it truly is a buyer's market to be purchasing thoroughbreds.
How's that for a bloodstock agent?
Well, when you're trying to sell horses, it makes it a challenge, but from the other end, you sort of get your pick of the litter.
Now, does the way it's been trending with the horse sales, as you mentioned, being a buyer's market right now, can a lot of this be attributed to COVID-19, or is it just the cycle of the business?
I would say it's a bit of both. The top end always takes care of itself, but people's lack of disposable income right now, I think, stalled a little bit.
When you're out there looking for a horse, is it all about, do you look at the pedigree first, do you look at the horse first, then go back and look at the pedigree? Is it a mixture of things?
It's truly a mixture. Usually, you want to see what the horse looks like itself. You're looking for an athlete, and then the pedigree will tell you how much you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But you don't want to fall in love with a pedigree page and, start making excuses for why things are the way they are because you want it to be something.
We had Wayne Lucas on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about a conversation he had with Bob Baffert. Of course, they come from the quarter horse ranks, and it wasn't about the pedigree as much as how the horse looked in their day. And I think he told one of the sales agencies one time, why don't we don't even need to look at the horses the way you guys do it. Just put a pedigree page up and everybody can look at it when they don't even have to come into the ring.
Wow. Those guys have had tremendous success. I hope to be as good as they are.
Yeah. Well, what a success you've had with She Dares the Devil. How did you come about this filly? And we'll talk about her performances, but how did all this come about, this terrific filly trained by Brad Cox?
She was supplemented into the Keeneland November sale last year. Peyton Fleury and I had been looking for some racehorses, and he wanted to have some stock to take to Oaklawn Park and Hot Springs, and she just kind of fell right into our lap. She fit everything that we were looking for, and it's always the dream when you buy a horse, even a proven horse like she was. She was multiple graded stakes horse already. It's still the dream that maybe you can go out and win the Oaks, and that was unbelievable.
I remember I saw your smiling face there, even through a mask. I think you were smiling when I saw you with She Dares the Devil when she pulled the upset in the Oaks. What was that like, the satisfaction? I mean, not only of winning this prestigious race, but knowing that, you were able to get her and you beat some people out and you'd already had a victory with her, I guess, and the fact that you got her, you got her at the sale.
Yeah, I mean, to get her at the sale was great. And then what she has done for us since then, winning the Honeybee, winning the Indiana Oaks. And Brad had mentioned all spring, really, when COVID started to take effect, let's just be patient, take our time, pick our spots. We don't want our best day to be now. We want it to be in the Kentucky Oaks. And man, was he right.
What was that feeling like when she's coming down the stretch? Because, that's either Swiss Skydiver, and we know what she's done since then, or Gamines. They were the two best and maybe better than any of the boys, and obviously Swiss Skydiver showed that she can be. What was that like? She Dares the Devil makes the move, and you're watching her win that Oaks.
When she's coming down the stretch, and she's still sitting there right there with Gamine, and I'm like, man, this filly, Gamine, I just thought was that much of a freak, the way she just kept hanging on there. I was like, man, we're going to run a brilliant race and not win. And then we passed her, and it still hadn't clicked to me what was going on. And then Swiss Skydiver comes in, too, right behind us. I was like, man, she's going to have to do something great, and she really stepped up and did it. Because, again, we've seen how good Gamine is. We've seen how good Swiss Skydiver just was.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then this recent weekend, first time she goes against older horses, a solid third-place finish for She Dares the Devil in the Spinster at Keeneland, and getting a race in over a track where the Breeders' Cup's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she ran a very good race. It was a little bit of a quicker turnaround coming back in 4 weeks than we have with her before, but she'd been training so good coming into it. Sort of take what's right there in front of you as far as race selection goes this year. Not like there's a blueprint or a pandemic in horse racing.
Right.
But she ran a very game race, and it's tough for 3-year-olds to beat older horses at any time of the year. And the horses that ran, they're good horses. Ollie's Candy has been on the board in graded stakes, for the last year and a half. She's a multiple grade 1 winner herself. I mean, that wasn't a slouch field by any means.
And as far as looking ahead now, as a guy that, I don't know, how much do owners have say with trainers and how they discuss the future with She Dares the Devil? Does she go on now and run in the distaff at the Breeders' Cup?
We're going to leave everything in Brad's hands. It's worked so far, letting him pick out what to do with her. Can't really complain with what he's done. And, in my mind, he's going to be a Hall of Fame trainer here as soon as he's eligible. So I wouldn't want to be second guessing him anytime soon.
Yeah, he's off to a pretty good start, isn't he?
Hey, he's done all right for himself.
I remember meeting Brad, 8-9 years ago. And, of course, he's going to have Monomoy Girl, who I can't see anybody. Well, that'll be interesting. Monomoy Girl and Swiss Skydiver, perhaps Swiss Skydiver will run in the distaff. McPeak obviously has the option of putting her in the Classic, but I think right now he's leaning toward going into the distaff, and that could be a heck of a race.
I mean, Monomoy Girl is just a freak. She's done nothing wrong at any point in her career. And at this point, it looks like she's just toying with horses.
Now, as far as yourself, what goes on now? What does a Bloodstock agent do all year round? Because every time I see you, you're looking at, you're reading, you're getting text, you're on the phone. It's pretty much a 365-day-a-year job, it would appear to me, Clay.
It's kind of like being a general manager for a football team. Just because you're not there coaching the players or calling the plays on the field doesn't mean there's not something in the background that isn't being seen or showcased getting done. You know, we're always out looking for horses. You go out to farms, you inspect yearlings and foals, and, you know, you do matings for stallions and mares. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. You go out to the track in the morning and you watch horses train, and you're trying to find the next future champion.
So if I come to you and I say, I want you to sell me a horse, what would you tell me right now if the horse is just, you know, let's say modestly bred? I don't have, you know, one of the named stallions associated with it. You just lay it out there and say, okay, here's the market at this time. It's going to be probably in the middle. You might get lucky, or, you know, maybe you're blessed that the horse is so gifted physically that, you know, you're going to get some money to start with. How do you work with a client when you're taking it to the sale?
I just try and give them a rational expectation of what's going to go on, and here's what I think can happen. And again, right now it's difficult to price a horse because all you can look at it and say is, in a normal market, I think the horse should be X. And what happens here is, you know, who knows? You know, with the lack of disposable income people have had to spend on horses, it's one of those things where you look at it and say, well, 6 people like the horse, but if 4 of them buy horses before year goes through the ring and they don't have any money left to spend, you don't have 6 people who like your horse anymore. You just have 2.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out what those 2 want to spend on your horse.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and this is, I guess this was like going to be your calling, wasn't it? Your dad, Merrill's well-known, well-respected as a trainer over the years. I guess, was this a calling that you would be in the horse business?
You know, my parents thought I was out when I was in college and I had a corporate internship, and they thought, finally, he's going to be away from it. He'll get a job and do something outside of this. And then I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. And then the following summer, I worked on a farm prep in yearlings, and that's when I think they realized that they had lost.
Does he still give you advice?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a treasure trove of knowledge. And every time I think I know something, watching one train, he schools me.
It's good to have that kind of mentor, isn't it?
Oh, I've had the best teachers you could ask for in this game. When I was working at Hillendale, Donato Lanning might be the smartest guy out there picking out horses, and you can see the success he's had with Baffert.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, every time you look up, they've got grade 1 winners.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen, does it?
No. Hard work and luck, and you need a lot of luck.
Well, you know, hard work kind of leads to luck. It certainly has with you, and especially this year with She Dares the Devil, Clay, and continued success. And I look forward to catching up at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland in just a few days now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the weather's been great here in Kentucky. I'm looking forward to a great weekend of racing.
Clay, thanks
again. Got some tremendous horses coming in. Thanks very much, Kenny.
All right. Clay Scherer, Bloodstock agent, has She Dares the Devil going on to where we don't know, but going on to the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back with more of the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back in. Just a few minutes to go here. Thanks to Robby Albarado. Great catching up with him, and what a terrific ride again aboard Swiss Skydiver in winning his second Preakness. As Robby said, he will be staying on board as they move forward now to the Breeders' Cup in either the Classic or the Distaff. And that's really a happy story for a good guy. He's been through a lot. Major injuries. We talked about the skull fractures. Did not get a lot of mounts in the last couple of years. Something nowhere near, almost forgotten in some ways, certainly not by trainer Kenny McPeak. And when Albarado got the chance to step onto the big stage again, he embraced it and did it in the race of the year with Swiss Skydiver winning the Preakness. Leonard Lusky, always good to talk to him. He does have great passion about his friendship for many years and his business relationship with Penny Chenry and the great Secretariat that he continues on with the Secretariat Festival that's coming up this weekend. It will be viral. You can go to secretariat.com. If you don't see as it's unfolding live on the internet, you can go back and look. And then it was great to catch up with Clay Scherer, get an insight on it being a buyer's market this year out there in the horse racing auction world, and to talk about She Dares the Devil, a very talented 3-year-old who upset Swiss Skydiver in winning the Kentucky Oaks. So that was a fun show again this week. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in. And now we focus on the Breeders' Cup coming up and the many scenarios and some of the great races. Ben Chaffins, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to The Horse Racing Show.